Good morning. My name is Carson Olinger. I am the president and CEO of Capital City Equity Group here in Northeast Atlanta. I am a real estate investor. I have been doing this now a little over 4 years. I've transacted about 110 transactions of a mix of everything from wholesaling to fix and flips to arbitrage to mobile home park acquisition. I do a lot of coaching and mentoring, obviously, here on the REI USA platform. We've got active flips going on now. We've got 38 rental properties throughout the Northeast Metro Atlanta area, and we're looking at picking up more properties as we speak. We're kind of in acquisition mode now. I wanted to continue on with our presentation that we've been dealing with here for the last several weeks called Walk the Flip. Now, Walk the Flip is something I came up with. It's not really anything new, but I just renamed it Walk the Flip as opposed to an on-site renovation or what have you. So what we do here at Walk the Flip is two things. One, we have a opportunity to talk about the different aspects of flipping a home from start to finish. And we're on week 5 right now. So if you need to see any of the previous 4 recordings, they should be archived here in the USA or REI USA platform. Beyond that, we also do Walk the Flips on location here in the Atlanta area. So we'll go out to an active flip, either mine or one of my colleagues, and we'll walk through that flip. We try to do it twice. We do it once on the front end at acquisition so you can see what the house kind of really looks like when we buy it and what scope of work needs to be done. And then at the end, when we're all finished, we'll come back out and see the finished product before we sell it. We just recently wrapped one up at our most recent flip in Tequila, and it was pretty successful. So keep informed here by subscribing to my Facebook page and my Instagram page. My name again is Carson Olinger, and you'll get updates on on-site locations of where we're doing Walk the Flip, as well as updates on what we're doing here on the REI USA platform. We meet in this meeting on Mondays, actually the last Monday of every month at 9 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. And then at 10 o'clock, actually, I host another platform for the Georgia new group, the new investor group for Georgia. We meet at 10 o'clock on another channel within the REI USA platform. So make sure you subscribe to all of my social media sites. You can go to my website at Capital City Equity Group. Actually, it's capcityeg.com. So it's www.capcityeg.com. If you need to reach me directly, please reach out to me at 678-478-2230. That is my direct cell phone. Yes, I give that out. And if you need to reach me via email, please email me at info@capcityeg.com. So we'll jump right in here with the Walk the Flip. So we have gone through so far 4 different areas of flipping a property. This whole program from the 12 weeks that we're going to be doing this is a presentation of everything you need to do from the beginning to the end. So if you're just catching it on the back end, you can go and look this up in the archives. But the first week we talked about targeting and identifying the actual market that we want, and then getting funding, acquisition, costing out a rehab, and final costs of the rehab before we start working it. And now, how do we pay for this rehab? How do we pay for the acquisition? So this whole class right here is talking about funding. One of the biggest barriers to entry into housing market, into the REI concept, the real estate investing concept is, and I hear it all the time, well, I'll start doing that once I start getting some money. I'll get some money and then I'll be able to do this. You don't need any money. Okay, you do not need money. It can be done. I am a perfect example of that. Not to say that I'm great or that I'm awesome or anything like that. It's just, it can be done. Other people taught me what I'm teaching you. The reason why I do this is because you don't have to spend any money to make money in real estate. You just don't. I'm going to teach you how to do that. Is it easy? No. Does it take a little bit more time than if you had money? Well, absolutely. But you have to look at it in a different light. You're either going to have two things. One, you're going to have time, which most of us have if we don't have a lot of money, or you've got money, which then meaning, hey, I don't want to spend a lot of time. I'm just going to throw some money at the equation. Like me, I started off with no money. 4 years ago, I wanted to get into real estate investing. I had no money. How did I do it? How did I get into this process? So this funding is really a larger perspective of getting into the real estate market, how to pay for a flip, how to pay to buy a rental that you might need to rehab to keep, obviously. But really the bigger picture here is how do you do real estate without any money? Because all of these things tie together. Obviously, we're talking about a flip here, walking the flip. So what does it take to actually flip a property? Well, one of the biggest components, obviously, is getting the money to do it. So really, there's several areas in which you can acquire capital. One, bring your own money. If you got the money, this really isn't for you. I mean, this perspective right here, because you've got it. You don't need to find the funding. I don't like to leverage my capital, my personal capital. I like to leverage other people's money. I will pay for that. Why? Because it spreads the risk. Okay. You get other people involved and you have a conservative approach. Everybody makes money. You have access to more money if you use other people's money. And the risk is spread out so that if something does slightly go wrong, everybody's involved and it's not just on your shoulders. So don't leverage your house. Don't do those kind of things, right? So how do you get money to flip a house? Okay. You either have money, like I mentioned, or a lot of people will say, well, I'll go get hard money. Okay, well, that's a very good option. So what is hard money? People ask all the time, I've heard the concept of hard money. What is hard money? And by the way, if there's any questions that pop up during this presentation, please just use the Zoom platform and raise your hand, and I'll try and answer it once I get to a stopping point within my conversation. So what is hard money? So hard money is actually banking money, but it's kind of the second tier banks. So a first tier bank is going to be your Wells Fargo, your SunTrusts, your Bank of America's, those kind of guys. Those are your first tier banks. They're primarily wanting to lend to people like us that want to live in a house, a traditional mortgage. Hey, I'm going to live in my home. It's my personal residence. That's what they do. It's not an investment loan, so they don't want to get into that. So a second tier loan is going to be more of a risk tolerant loan. They're going to analyze the risk. Okay, and that's what we call hard money. So hard money is money that's tied to an investment property. Okay. In many cases, it's going to be a little bit or maybe a lot more expensive than a traditional mortgage. Perspective here. I got a mortgage on my house at 3% because I live here. Okay. It's my personal residence. If I were to try and flip this home using hard money and I had no experience flipping a home, my loan rate would probably be on the par of 10 to 12%. And that would be interest only. Okay. That sounds like a lot of money. Wow, 10 to 12% versus 3. Well, yeah, it is if you look at it in a 30-year mortgage. But when you're flipping a home, time is critical. That's why it costs you more money the longer you hold it. So you want to get out of the deal as fast as you can. So holding onto a property at 10 to 12% can get a little bit costly. But even if you go a little bit longer than normal, you're still going to wind up making money if you do it right. Because most house flips are about 6 to 12 months long. Some are shorter, some are longer, depending on the scope of work. So put that in perspective. All right. It is a cost of doing business, and it needs to be built into your analysis of acquisition to understand if you don't have the capital yourself and you know you've got to go borrow it, you're going to have to pay interest to do so. You have to build that into your carrying costs. I'm going to go over some of this math with you so that you understand what it really means to try and find the funding and how it applies into the mathematical equation. And I guess the word I'm looking for is analysis when you're looking at a house, because you don't just go make an offer unless you know what your cost structures are, and funding is part of that. But this program here today is talking about how to find that funding. So hard money is one of the options that you can use. Now, hard money comes with a price. So because they're risking a little bit more on an investment property, they're not going to loan you potentially as much as you would normally get on a personal home. Example, you only need 3% to put down on a personal home. On an investment property using hard money, depending on your experience, you're going to need anywhere from 10 to 20% to put down, okay, of the acquisition. Keep in mind, you still have to flip it. So if you got a house under contract for 100,000 and the hard money lender is only going to allow you to put 20% down, you got to come up with 20 grand. They'll fund $80,000, but now all you've done is acquire the property, right? So now you still have to rehab it. So let's say you got a $30,000 rehab. Well, now you still need the $30,000, right? So you're going to have $130,000 all in. 20,000 somewhere is 20%, plus the other 30 is 50. So you're going to be borrowing 80 from the hard money lender, and you still got to come up with 50. But it doesn't stop there. With that comes some other expenses. The hard money loan is going to come with points. What is a point? A point is basically 1% is 1 point, 2% is 2 points. Okay, a point is going to be percent of how much is borrowed. So if you borrow $80,000, 1 point is $800. So a traditional hard money lender is probably going to charge you anywhere from 1 to 3 points at closing. So at the closing, you're going to have to pay them $800, $1,600, $2,400 in points, depending on 1 to 3, somewhere in that range. At the closing table, it just goes to them above and beyond the $80,000, above and beyond the closing costs you pay to the attorney. Okay, so now keep in mind, you've also got the closing costs that go to the attorney and all the taxes and all the HOA stuff, all that stuff, right? So there's costs that you have to come up with. So if you're borrowing the $80,000 from the hard money lender and the $50,000 from somewhere else, you still have to come up with another $2,400. There's 3 points plus closing costs. So let's just call that another 5 or 6 grand. So now you're at $56,000, and then you're going to have to start paying the monthly mortgage, the interest-only payment on the $80,000 each month, probably 30 days after you start. That money is going to come from somewhere too. I borrow that. I'll go and get that $50,000 to rehab it, $6,000 to close it, and probably another 8 to 10 to hold on to the property and pay my power bill, light bill, insurance, all those things, plus my mortgage. So that at the end of the day, I've got the money in the bank account when I start, so I can do all those things. Okay. So finding the money is important. Hard money is a great way to go. As you get more experience, then you'll be able to get lower rates, lower points. So put that in perspective. When we first started, hard money was going to loan us money at about 11.99% is what it was, 3 points. Now we're getting 1 point because of our experience, and we're borrowing money at 7.99%. Much more reasonable. Very simple, easy to deal with. It's just the cost of doing business. So with that being said, our costs are a lot lower, and we have a higher credit line. So we're borrowing money now. We've got access to $2 million in private capital through hard money. Okay. So how do you find hard money? Well, you network. You talk to other people like me, other investors. Who are some hard money lenders in your area? There's some that are national. There are some that are local. A hard money lender could be just an individual who has a lot of capital. I find that there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of money in their IRAs. Okay, they have $1 million, $2 million in their IRAs, and they want to loan that money out because they don't want to be too active in investing. Other than I just want to make a loan. If I can make 10, 12% on my loan and be in a secure position, then they'll do that. So they start loaning money. Do they have a company like Bank of America or somebody like that? Typically not. They just advertise through marketing to their own people within their own network. Say, hey, if you know anybody in the real estate world, I've got some money. I'm willing to lend it out. Here's my criteria. And they'll have all the documentation and everything like that. And they'll give it to the attorney, and it works well. You can find those people. They're on Facebook. They're looking to lend money all the time. Money is out there. It all circles back to the deal. You have to have a good deal. If the mathematics of the deal are economically sound and conservative enough, people will invest money. They will come out of the woodwork to do so. Finding the deal is critical. A good deal, not just an opportunity. It Has to be a good deal that makes financial sense. Okay. So hard money is one way to go. I've used it from time to time, but when I first started, I didn't have any credibility. I didn't have any history. I didn't have any experience. So what did I do? How did I do that? Well, I partnered with other people. I can't tell you how positive that experience was and how critical that experience was in order to grow. If you know people in this industry that have flipped houses, that have done more than you have already, seek them out. You will learn from them. You will allow the deal itself that you found to pay for the money that you're borrowing. It'll pay them. It'll pay for the experience. You're not going to have to, hey, give me $50,000 and I'll teach you how to flip a house. It doesn't work that way. Well, it does. People do that. I would not recommend doing that. Okay. There's a lot of great courses out there. I won't mention their names, but most people just don't succeed doing that. Why? Because they don't learn the way the course teaches. You're better off finding somebody you gel with, that you can get on site with, and you can learn from, and you give up part of the profit of the deal. In some cases, more to them than to you. But over time, when I say that, I mean 2 to 3 deals, you'll have enough experience to where you can branch out on your own and you'll be able to get better rates. So don't ever cut your nose off to spite your face. What I mean by that is don't be this guy. Don't be like, I'm not sharing anything. Be this guy. Hey, I want to work with everybody. Okay. And when you do that, you're going to gain friendships. You're going to gain business relationships. You're going to get a good reputation of somebody that wants to share and learn. But more importantly, you're going to open yourself to capital. Capital will flow. Okay. One of the biggest concerns I had is, all right, I found this deal. I got the deal. It's under contract. I got the guy who wants to put money up. Well, what happens at the end of this thing when the deal's done? Now we've all made money. We've moved on. I got to go find another guy. Well, hold the phone. You don't need to find another guy. The guy that you just loaned you the money just made money, hopefully, right? Don't you think he's going to want to do that again? That's the idea. They'll keep coming back, and they say, you know what? I've got a little bit more money. I got a little bit more money. You need 3 or 4 of those guys, or women. I say guys. I use that inclusively. But you need 3 or 4 of those types of people. And if they've got the capital, then you can run 8, 10 different deals at a time before you have to start going out and getting other people to work for you. Okay. And that means you got access to capital. So hard money is one way to go. My preference is to use private capital. Now there's kind of a gray area. Private capital, as I alluded to, can also be hard money, meaning, hey, Joe Smith has $2 million in his IRA and he wants to loan money out as a hard money concept. He can do that. All right. That's kind of second tier hard money, but it is hard money. It's the same concept. The private equity partner is going to be somebody that you might know within your network. And they say, you know what? Hey, Carson, I want to work with you on this deal. I appreciate you bringing it to me. Here's 100% of the acquisition, and here's 100% of the rehab. I want 25% of the equity. Does that make sense to you? Does that work for you? Run those numbers. Okay. If you don't have access to hard money, or it's going to take too long to get hard money, because maybe you've got to act quicker than hard money can react. And by the way, hard money, I don't care what they tell you, they're going to take 3 weeks. It's going to take you 3 weeks. Okay. The most I've ever seen anybody get anything done is 10 days. That's business days. But that's because we had everything already pre-approved, everything like that. If you're just getting started, you're going to be a minimum of 3 weeks. Okay. Just plan on it. There's going to be things that pop up, pieces of information's missing. If you've done business with them repeatedly, then you could probably get it down to 10 days. So you hear them say, hey, we can do it in 7 to 10 days. That's only if you've done 4 or 5 deals with them, typically. I'm saying that kind of a broad brush stroke here. There are companies that can do it a little quicker, but for the most part, you're going to be looking at about 3 weeks. In perspective, working with a private equity partner, it's cash. They can just wire the money the next day. As long as you've got an agreement in place, you can close as soon as title's done. So we've closed deals in 3 days because it just took that long to get the title done, right? But the money was wired, we were all good to go. So how do you find private money? Well, I found private money just by going to networking events, REIAs. If you've not been to a REIA, I would highly recommend going. Find one in your area. Oh, by the way, what is a REIA? Some people have never heard of what a REIA is. It's an acronym, REIA, Real Estate Investment Association. Okay, they're everywhere. Some people call them meetups. Okay, there's a website called Meetup. You can go to Meetup, you can create a free profile, and you put in your interests. So let's say you like rollerblading in the park with your poodles, right? And you want to find other people that have poodles that like to rollerblade in the park. You can put in rollerblading, parks, and poodles are my interests. And everybody else that has the same interests, rollerblading, poodles, and parks, they're going to pop in and you're going to see all these people that want to go rollerblading with their poodle in the park. I sound like a Dr. Seuss book, but in any event, you can put your interest, in this case, real estate, investing, networking, flipping, those types of things. You're going to have that interest group, and other meetings that kind of fit that criteria are going to pop up, and you'll see them all over the area. So if you live in Atlanta or Houston or Portland or wherever you are, you can find those types of groups in your area. So go to meetup.com. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and you can find groups that meet. Now, I like to go to the meetups that are free, the real estate investment associations that are free. Why? Because I go to so many of them, okay? And I'm not consistently going to them over and over and over again all over the city. So I may go to one on one side of the city, I may go to another one on the other side of the city, but if I paid all of their annual fees, I wouldn't be able to justify the cost. So I go to the free ones, and I find that they're highly, highly efficient, meaning there are a lot of people trying to do exactly what I'm doing. So who goes to these meetings? Okay, we're talking about finding money, right? Finding capital to fund your flip. So what are we looking for? When I go to these, I'm working. I am trying to grow my business. So I'm looking for specific things. I'm looking to partner with other people. I'm looking to find capital. So who goes to these types of meetings? Well, you get investors like myself. You get wholesalers that go to these. You get real estate agents that go to these. You get real estate brokers. You get attorneys. You get general contractors. You get subcontractors. For instance, I found a mold remediation guy at one of these things. I found money lenders at these things, guys that have capital looking to loan on deals. I find hard money lenders. There's sponsors that are there, banks. There's insurance people. There's inspectors. You name it, anything and everything to do with real estate investing is going to be at this meeting in one way, shape, or form. And what you're going to do is you're going to go there and you're going to network. You're going to bring your business card. And you're going to go, "Hi, my name is Carson. I'm with Capital City Equity Group. Here's my card. This is what I do." 5 minutes, have a conversation. Thanks for talking to you. You go talk to somebody else. And you're collecting business cards. You're going to get home. You're going to put that in the database, and you're going to start building your network so that when you have deals to wholesale potentially, you can sell those out and you have people to buy them. That's what I did. So I started off just like that. I went to so many real estate investment meetings. My wife was like, "Are you going to even be home tonight?" But I knew I had to put that work in to get where we are today. And it's paid off. Do I still go to as many as I used to? No, I don't. But I go to enough to keep my name and my presence out there because I always want to grow my network. Okay. But I've expanded into other platforms. It's given me credibility to do things like this. I was asked to come on and coach nationally here at REI USA. So going to these meetings, I found capital. I found other people that were willing to give me money based on my deals. Now, at the time, I was just some random guy who was wholesaling. But because I established credibility and I had integrity and honesty, and I posted all these things on Facebook to gain brand recognition. I mean, I had this thing everywhere I went. You see my name, my logo, my name, the logo. It's everywhere, okay, on Facebook. So if you're following me, you'll get sick of seeing that. But your brain, I learned this from another real estate investor. Her name is Amy. She said your brain is a muscle. You need to train the brain. I give her a lot of credit for some of the things that I've done. She's an incredible investor. She's here locally. I'm not going to give her a full name because I don't want to inundate her, but she was helpful in my growth. But my point is, continue to market and get your name out there because you will find money. Money will find you. Okay. Be consistent in what you're doing. It's not just one singular concept. Hey, I need money, give me money. Well, who are you? It's an ongoing process of marketing yourself, branding yourself, networking, and having a good character and good integrity so that you can find this money. And the reason I like private capital, it's a lot easier to work with. And it's once you establish a rapport with some of these people, you go back to the well and you continue to get money. We're now buying trailer parks where we're having people give us, $3, $4, $5, $600,000 in capital for long periods of time, not just a flip, but for 8 to 10, 12, 15 years, because they're getting a rate of return. They're putting their money into play and they're getting a good rate of return on that so that they can have part of the equity position. And we're buying multi-million-dollar trailer parks. That's how you can grow. That's part of our rental portfolio. But the flipping side of it is still something we do every day. We're flipping homes continually, and I use private capital for that. So finding money, how do you find it? What kind of money is out there? We talked about hard money. We talked about private equity, private capital. Okay. The other types of funding that are out there are, and you may have heard of these, it's called transactional funding. So there's been a lot of talk in the industry about, especially for the wholesalers. There's some states, even within the United States here, that have passed laws that said if you are not a real estate agent, you can't sell a home, even wholesale home. Okay. So that's putting some constraints on some wholesalers, but the way around it is to buy the property. Instead of wholesaling it, meaning I'm just signing a piece of paper and then assigning my interest contractually to somebody else, I have to now buy the property. Well, if I don't have any money, how can I buy the property? So it kind of eliminates you. Transactional funding will allow you to do that. So what is transactional funding? Transactional funding is pretty simple. Let's say you are a wholesaler, get a property under contract with Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith agrees to sell you his house for $100,000, and you have no intention of buying it because you just want to wholesale it and make a quick 10 grand. That's fine. But the state you live in has passed a law that says you can't do that. You have to be an agent, and you're not an agent. So you say, no problem. I can skirt that, no problem, and still be legally okay to do everything. So what do? You find transactional funding. Transactional funding will give you the $100,000 to buy the house. Okay, it might cost you $2,000 to do it, and you get the money for 24 hours. Okay, but you've now, instead of wholesaling it, you found somebody else to buy it, just like a wholesaler would sell it to somebody to buy it, but you're selling it to them for $115,000. Okay, so now you do what they call an A to B, B to C transaction. So A is Mr. Smith selling it to you, B, and B is you selling it to the end buyer who's going to flip it, C. But you got the money from a transactional lender who's going to charge you 2% on the $100,000. They're going to make $2,000, but you're going to get the 100. You give up the 2, but you're making 15. So now you're making 13, okay? And then the other guy buys the house for 115 and he's golden. And all the money is just there because you got the 115 over here and you got your 100 over here and you lose 2 out of the 15 profit and the attorney just takes care of all that. And there are lenders out there that do that. But that's only for 24 hours. It just allows you to do the transaction at the table. So the money's wired in the day of, and the next day the money's wired back out. The transactional lender now gets his $102,000 back. He made $2,000 in 24 hours. That's a lot of money. You didn't have it. I'm okay with that because I just made $13,000. Didn't cost me a penny. It's just part of doing business. And if you look at it from that perspective, you'll do fine. So how do you find these guys? Same way, transactional lenders, through your network, ask other people. Networking out is important. I mentioned REIAs. I can't stress REIAs enough. Go to Real Estate Investment Association meetings. I live here in Atlanta. I actually have so much value in Real Estate Investment Associations that I started my own 3 years ago. It's called North Point REIA. We meet in Beaufort, Georgia, which is on the north side of Atlanta, the last Wednesday of every month, which, matter of fact, is this week. We meet Wednesday, the 28th? Yeah. 28th, we meet at Tannery Row Ale House in Beaufort, and it's free. Ours is a little bit different. I like to educate. I like to learn myself. So we bring in speakers from all over the area and all over the country to speak on different topics related to real estate. This month, we're bringing in a gentleman by the name of Jose Garcia, and he's going to talk about mobile home investing. It's another niche that some people want to get into, but it translates into a lot of other things as well. So we have networking and you get to grow your business and meet other people. Then we have an educational component for about 45 minutes, which is free, by the way. And then some more networking after that. We've got vendors up there. You can grab a drink, grab something to eat, sit back and kind of learn. Our goal is for you to walk in there the when you walk out, you walked out smarter than when you came in. But there's others all over the area I go to. There's another one in Beaufort I go to called Gwinnett Work. Another one over in Peachtree Corners called Mojitos, Flipping Mojitos. There's several others in Roswell downtown. So I'm going to a lot of these different ones. But that's how I grew my business with networking. Okay. So hard money, we talked about that. Private capital, you can get to fund your deals. The other thing to do is partner. Okay. My first flip was a partnership. All right. So the story is pretty simple. I was wholesaling a property. I had it under contract for $150,000. I was trying to sell it, the contract that is, for $165,000 and just be done with it. Make 15 grand, walk away. I couldn't get anybody to buy it. For whatever reason, it was either too far north, it was up in North Gainesville, or maybe the deal just wasn't that attractive, or I just couldn't find the right person. But needless to say, I couldn't move it, and my contract time was running out. And I was at one of these networking events, and I said, hey, I'm trying to move this deal. And they were looking for a deal, but the price just wasn't right for them. So they approached me and said, hey, what if you and I, Carson, go into this thing together? I'll fund the whole thing, Carson, but you supply the deal at your cost. So you're not going to make any money on the front end. So instead of selling it to me at $165, sell it to me at $150, and then I'll put up all the money to rehab it. But Carson, I want you to run the rehab because I don't have time to do it. And then we'll split the profits 50-50. I was like, hey, that's better than nothing, because if I don't do anything, I'm going to lose this deal. So it was all his money. He's going to get 50% of the deal, but he's got a lot of risk in there, right? Because he put the capital up. But I've got some skin in the game too, because I've got the deal I brought, which is worth something. But now I've got to run this thing. Okay, meaning I have to find the contractors and that kind of stuff. And we did that, and we all made money. And it was a positive outlook. That was my first actual flip. Okay. So then I also, as a result of that, I gained experience, right? So now my name was on there. So I was able to go to hard money lenders down the line and say, hey, this is a flip I've done. It shows credibility, it shows experience. It didn't cost me anything. But because of the reputation I had, people came to me and wanted to work with me. And it worked out well. We all made money on the deal. So that's another way to find money, is to partner. I can't stress enough partnerships. Partnerships are critical. Okay. I partner with people all the time, from joint venture agreements on wholesale deals to partnering with large flips where we're both bringing money to the table, or just partnering where I have to do some work and they've got to do some work. It's just a matter of bringing the two parties together and what value you both find in the partnership, whether it's, hey, I'll bring the deal, you bring the money, or we both bring a little bit of money. It just depends on what works best for you guys. But always put it under contract with your partner. Okay, so funding the deal is obviously pretty critical. You have to make sure you've got the money and access to money if you want to try and flip the property, because why? You've got a limited time on your due diligence and on the time you have to close the property. So if you can't move the property via wholesaling and you've got earnest money in the deal, you could potentially lose that if no one buys the property. Okay, or you could potentially lose it if you can't buy the property. So there's some risk there, and you got to be able to make sure you've got access to it. So before you start throwing down paperwork, make sure you've got either a way to move the property that you're pretty confident it'll move if you're putting earnest money down, or two, you got access to the capital to get it. So these are all things that are kind of in the pot, and as you're stirring the pot, they're all kind of moving at the same time because they're all kind of part of the same thing. You can't just go find a house and go, okay, now I'm done, let's go do this. There's a process, and the process you need to think about it, because at some point, each one of those things is going to have to be addressed. They're all moving at the same time. So if you go out and get a property and now you don't have the money, you're going to be up a creek, and you could potentially lose some money. Now, most of the deals I've done, as a matter of fact, I'd say 99% of the deals I've done, I've never put up $1 worth of earnest money. It's just the way I do my business, and it's worked out that way. Now that we're getting some bigger transactions, we're having to put up some earnest money, which makes more sense, but it's just part of what our acquisition strategy is. But it's not my money. It's my partner's money, my equity partner's money. It's my lender's money. It's somebody else's money that we're putting up to make sure that we can get these deals done. And that comes with experience. So you got hard money, you got private capital, you got networking in order to find it. You got lenders that are out there you can search hard money. Go to Google, go to Yahoo, go to Bing, whatever engine you use. And no one ever says Bing it or Yahoo it. They say Google it. But in any event, look for hard money lenders. And you're like Hard Money Atlanta, Hard Money Houston, what have you. And there's companies out there that's all they do. Okay. And they're going to have the same type of criteria. There's usually a process on the front. So if you've never done it, get this done ahead of time. They're going to want to qualify you. So are they going to ask for all your tax records? No, they're not. They don't care about your tax records. They want to see income and bank statements so they know you've got some money coming in. They want to see your credit rating, okay? And they want to see the deal. They want to know what the spread is, the ARV, the rehab. They want to see all that so they know what that risk is they're getting into. It has to meet their criteria. You may think, hey, this is a $300,000 house, ARV. They come in and they do their assessment and they say it's only 275. Well, they're lending on the 275 as the ARV. So that's important to know. You got to make sure your numbers are correct. Okay. Are there any questions at this point? Does anybody have any questions on acquisition and funding money, getting money to lend? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions there. So we'll continue to move forward. So now that we've got our transactional funding done, we have to have all of the wire transfers done. So the process is going to be pretty simple. Once everything's approved through the lender, whether it's hard money, whether it's private capital, it's going to have to be sent to the attorney. You're going to sign some documents, make sure you read them because you're signing up for this stuff. And then that's going to go to the attorney via wire. And typically the attorney is going to need that money probably 24 to 48 hours before the actual closing date, okay? And then keep in mind, they're going to wire the funds out to where they have to go the next day or probably within 2 days of getting the money after closing, okay? So there's some time things you got to be concerned with. So a lot of this stuff people try and do in 2 to 3 days, it's not going to work. You're going to need probably at a minimum 11 to 13 days if you're very, very proficient. I've done it in 7, but you're pushing it. Okay, so if people say they can close in 3 days, they're literally bringing cash to the table. All right, they probably got their own capital. But if you're borrowing money, plan on 11 to 13 days at a minimum. To be more conservative, as I mentioned earlier, 3 to 4 weeks, you're going to get your money. Okay. So that puts you in advantage if you're trying to sell a house if you've got cash, or buy a house, I should say, because cash moves a lot quicker. So if someone's trying to move fast, and you're up against someone else who's competing with hard money, you might be able to offer a lower price. Okay. I just got a question popped up here. Let me see. Can you recommend my transactional funding? I'm not going to do any promotions on the site. So I see that you've got somebody here that you want. Whoops, I just minimized. Hold on a second. Uh-oh, there we go. I minimized the wrong screen. So no, we're not going to do any promotions of anybody else here. I appreciate the opportunity to do that, but we're not going to promote specific companies on this platform. So there's lots of different hard money lenders. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but you need to give yourself some time to get the money moved. Okay. The lenders are going to need a little bit extra time. The attorneys are going to need time. So just be aware of the time parameters when you're flipping a house. Okay. Once the money comes in, hard money is a little bit trickier. So let's say we're going back to our numbers that we used before. The hard money lender is going to give you, loan you $80,000 on a $100,000 house. And then they also will tell you, hey, we will also loan you 100% of the rehab. Okay, well, you got what do we say, $30,000 rehab, I think it was, right? So with the $30,000 rehab, they will give you the $30,000, but they will reimburse you the money, is all they're saying. So if you have a contractor who's going to get started day one, they may want $10,000 up front to get started. That's going to come from you. Now, when the $10,000 worth of work is completed, meaning, hey, we're going to put up 2 walls, a bathroom, and some kitchen counters, and it's going to be $10,000, whatever. And you say to the bank, okay, this has been completed. The bank is going to come out and do an inspection, which, by the way, is going to cost you about $200. It's going to take 7 days to get it done. And then when they get it done, they're going to release to you the $10,000 because that's been done. So all they're doing is reimbursing you the money. Okay. So it could make it a little bit easier instead of having to go out and find 30,000. Maybe all you got to do is find 10 because you're going to give out 10 to your contractor after 7 days or 10, 15 days of work. It's going to be done. And then you're going to get your $10,000 back and then you're going to do it again. I find that a little cumbersome. So I don't like to use hard money for the rehab. I like to go out and find what we call gap funding. So gap funding is another form of capital that you can find. There are gap funders out there. They're typically just individuals who have smaller amounts of cash. So what is a gap fund or a gap lender? Simply put, it's somebody that's putting up some capital on a deal that they want to make money in a passive situation. So let's use our example. You got a $100,000 acquisition. You're using hard money. A hard money lender is going to give you 80 grand. Okay. You still need 20 from somewhere to put up your 20%. And you need 30 to rehab. So a gap lender might have $50,000. I mean, we probably know a lot of people with $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. But let's just blow this thing up a little bit. What if I'm buying a house that's $300,000, right? Now, I'm only getting $240,000 from the hard money lender, right? Because I still got to put $20,000 or 20% down. And in this case, at 300,000, that's 60 grand. But I still have a $30,000 rehab. So now I need the 60 grand to put down, plus I need 30,000 rehab. I need 90 grand. Plus I need to carry some costs. I now need $100,000. A gap lender might be your next door neighbor, might be your dad, might be your uncle, might be your aunt, might be a friend of yours that just wants to get in. Hey, Carson, I've seen what you're doing. I've got a little bit of money. I can't afford to buy a $300,000 house, but I got 100. How can I get in the game? Well, hey, let me tell you. If I borrow that $100,000 from you, I'll put you in second position behind the bank, and I'll create a promissory note for you, and I'll pay you 10%. So when I'm done with the house, and I make all my money from the day I borrowed, the day I close, I'll pay you 10% interest only. So if I go, then the math on that on 100,000 is simple. All right, people want to calculate principal and interest. It doesn't work that way. $100,000 borrowed. Okay, make sure I got enough light here on my calculator. $100,000 borrowed. Okay, times 10% is $10,000. Divide that by 12 months. So I'm paying them $833 a month on their $100,000. So at the end of 4 months, buy it, flip it, sell it, right? It takes me about 4 months to do that. I'm going to own 833 times 4. What is that, $2,400 or so? No, geez, I can't do my math. $1,600, right? Times 4. Yeah, I can't do my math. I'll do the calculator. 8 times $3,200. So I own the 100,000 plus the 32, and they just made $3,200 in 4 months. It's a pretty good rate of return. Now, if they did that again and again and again, they're truly getting 10% on their money annually. Okay, but it's a great way for them to make money passively. Now, keep in mind, the big difference here is the hard money lender, I'm paying each month. The first of the month, they're taking their money, probably direct, they're hitting my bank directly. The gap funder, they're not getting any money during the flip. They're getting it when I'm done with the flip. That's how I structure it, okay? So those are your different types of lenders that are out there. Those are the different types of money that's available to you. And there's some other stuff you can do too, okay? So let's say you have no access to money. Now we're getting into something a little bit different. We're still talking about funding a flip, right? So we've talked about hard money and all the other types of money that's typically out there to go and get and bring in. But think about the seller. The seller who's selling you the house may have money. Maybe they're willing to lend on the deal itself. That seems kind of crazy. Why would I want to sell you my house and lend you the money to do it in the first place? Because you might be able to make some more money on this. So let's say I'm selling my house. I want $200,000 for my house. But Joe wants to buy my house, and he doesn't have $200,000. So what I'll do is I'll say, you know what, Joe, I'll sell you my house for $200,000, but I want $10,000 down and I want 15% interest rate until you're done. I'm going to basically finance the house to you until you sell it and make enough money to pay me back. Because when you sell it, it's going to be worth 300, right? Or whatever. So owner financing can be flipped the other way around. You can structure that deal to them and say, you know what, I don't have the money now, but in 4 months, instead of me giving you 200,000 now, I'll give you 220,000 in 4 months. That might be a good deal for these guys. And you can structure that deal. Now, most people don't want to do that because they're usually strapped for cash or what have you. But somebody that's in a situation maybe where they're moving into a rental property, or maybe they're retiring and getting a smaller house, maybe they're wealthy enough that they can afford both. There's all kinds of different ways. I've done this a couple times before where I said, what if I did owner financing? I'll get, instead of me giving you $200,000 cash, I'll give you 220 in 4 or 6 months, or 215 or whatever it is. So they're getting a little bit more money. And I take the money from the proceeds of what I did. And well, why would I do that? Well, one, I couldn't get the money in time because I didn't have access to it. And two, it's not really my money, it's just the profits. I'm making less on my profit, but I'm still making something rather than losing the deal altogether. So that's creative. You're getting creatively financing the deal through owner financing, but you're presenting that to the seller. Okay, it's very rare that the seller would present that to you. It's your job to try and open their eyes to see that. And if they're savvy enough and there's more money involved, sometimes the dollar signs really make people say, "What? How am I going to do that? How can I do that?" Well, then you can explain it to them in layman terms. Owner financing will allow me to do this. I can do this for 30 years. I could do this for 5 years. I could do this for 6 months. I could just say, you know what? Let me just buy the house for nothing, zero. Just sign the house over to me, and I'll write an agreement with you to pay you $30,000 on top of the 200 when we're all said and done. You're just now a business partner with me. Okay, I've done that before. It seems crazy. Why would someone do that? Because they're in a secure position. They get the house back if things go south. You just structure the deal contractually. You need a good lawyer for that. But it's just a creative way of doing it. And subject to. I've done many, many deals on subject to. Where subject to is basically buying a house subject to the existing mortgage, meaning I'm buying Joe's house, but I own the house and the mortgage stays in Joe's name. Those are usually specific circumstances where Joe, the seller in this case, he is upside down in his house, meaning he's behind 4, 6, 8, 10 months on the mortgage. And he's going to lose his house to foreclosure. So we can come in and save him from doing that. So there's a lot of pieces to the onion here that you can unfold, but owner financing is a great way to do that. Real estate investing is about creativity. It's about solving problems and thinking through it. You can't just have one square peg to fit in the square hole. You can't do that. You'll probably start off that way, but it's important to know that you've got a lot of different avenues. There's many different ways to skin a cat. I don't know who skins cats, but my point is there's a lot of different processes. 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. And 1 plus 3 is 4. There's different ways to approach it. The end result can still be the same, but you can approach it from different angles and different perspectives. So I'm always learning. I'm always surrounding myself with people that know more than me. And in a lot of cases, I surround myself with people that have forgotten more than I even know. Always be learning. I don't care how good you are, you're never going to be the brightest bulb in the box. You just aren't. Okay? And until you are, you're probably going to be an old man or an old woman. Right? It's just a matter of fact. There's always somebody that can do it a little bit different. And if you're not open to learning that, you're going to be cutting yourself short. Okay? I'm good at what I do. I'm not great. There's a lot of people out there that run circles around me. And I love that because I can learn from them. I'm hoping that what I've learned through my walk will help you in your walk. And that's what we're here for. That's what the REI USA platform is for. We're here to help you in any way we can. Now, I'm getting close to the end of the time. We've talked about several subjects today on Walking the Flip regarding funding and financing. What I want to do right now is, if you've seen any of my previous Zoom meetings, I'd like any questions that you guys might have to come up regarding anything to do with flipping houses or anything in real estate, we've got a couple of minutes. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns, or if you've got some things you just need to get answered, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to cut a little bit short because I've got another meeting I got to plan for here at 10 on the REI USA platform as well. So if there are any questions regarding real estate in general, real estate flipping, anything that you might want to ask that I can help with at this time. I see we've got several people on board here, so I didn't know if there were any questions. If there's not, then what I'm going to do is ask that we're going to sign off here in just a minute. But if you are local here in Atlanta, please come to our REIA, which is, as I mentioned earlier, this Wednesday at Tannery Row Ale House in Beaufort, Georgia at 6 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Actually, no, 6:30. I'm sorry, 6:30 to 9 o'clock at the Tannery Row Ale House in Beaufort. It's the last Wednesday of every month, and we're going to have guest speakers come in this week. We've got a gentleman coming in to talk about mobile home investing. Last month, we had somebody come in and talk about marketing through social media. The month before that, we had somebody come in and talk about Airbnbs, how to get those set up. So we're always bringing somebody in that can talk on a related subject that will be helpful in helping your business grow. There's usually a good amount of people there to grow your business. So I hope to see your faces there. I appreciate you joining us here. Please tell your friends about REI USA. It's an excellent platform. There's a lot of great coaches out here that can help. If you have questions about this series, go back to the archives. You can catch the other 4 that we did previous to this. And then please follow me. My name is Carson Olinger. Go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, and you can follow my company, Capital City Equity Group, and look for updates and things like that we're going to be doing ongoing, where we take this and bring it to the field and physically do it in a house, walking the flip there. So thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. If there's any questions, feel free to email me offline at info@capcityeg.com. Thank you very much.